one, and I like to make sure that everybody reads this and understands this is an educational room. It is not a trade along with me room. Does everybody understand that? So it's Tuesday, September 20th, and we're going to be starting out with Forex this morning. Now, you can see on my screen, I've got the US CAD, the Euro dollar, the Euro yen, and the USD JPY. I also have the Traders Help Desk trend indicator, the floor trader pivots, and I have colored the floor trader pivots according to whether they're going to act as support or resistance. White is the actual pivot line. It's the midpoint. It's the neutral line. All different ways to actually see the pivot line. These white dots are what we call the congestion dots, and they identify when the market is in congestion. Anytime that it's in congestion or these dots form, we anticipate it to come back to the ATR and then to go up, and you can see that's exactly what it did here. I also have 3 moving averages on here. That just gives me another level of support and resistance, because I do believe that the market moves off of support and resistance. Directly underneath that, I have the directional volume indicator. If you are seeing a blue volume bar, that tells you that price has made a high. If you are seeing a red volume bar, it tells you that price has made a low. If it's gray, it's just an inside bar. And if it is magenta in color, then that tells me it is an outside bar, meaning that it exceeded both the high and the low of the previous bar. You can also see that there is what we call a little hash mark on the volume indicator. That shows me who controlled the volume at the end of the price bar formation. Was it buyers or was it sellers? I also have just a standard stochastics on here, and I use that for divergence, both trend divergence and hidden divergence. Directly under that, we have the THD ADX. And this one I mainly use to identify when price is going to go into a retracement and when the market is either in an overbought or oversold situation. Now, the one trade that I'm going to show you this morning is actually on the Euro US dollar. You can see that we're at the pivot line. Not only are we at the pivot line, but we have a line of congestion dots, and we also have all of the moving averages together in this one area. Okay, so if I was to highlight that, let me remember how to do this. It's been just a little while since I've done a webinar because my mom. We have all of this right here showing us that we have a lot of support on the euro to go up. In addition to that, you also see that we had volume divergence. In fact, on that bar, the buyers actually came in and controlled it. In other words, it went down, it made a low, and buyers stepped into the market. Does everybody understand those concepts? Okay, I am doing this trade in a demo Nadex account. You see the word demo right here. It's also green. That tells you it's demo. You can see that I'm at the 1.1188 strike. Okay, you can also see that I only paid $28.50 to enter this trade. Okay, this was an out of the money binary option. Okay, that means that I lowered my risk by going out of the money. In other words, when price was trading down here, I went, I believe it was 2 strike prices out. So price was here and I went 2 strike prices out. It was able to lower my risk down to $30. Does everybody understand that? It was less than 30 actually. Now, when you're buying a Nadex binary, whatever price you see here is the price that you're paying in risk. On the sell side, you actually have to subtract that from 100 because that would be my potential profit would be 67.50. Okay, so that's the difference between the buy and the sell buttons. Any questions on that so far? And this is an opportunity for all of you to ask questions. Okay, since there's no questions on that, I'm going to bring that off of the screen. I think it's going to go back up here, and I think it's going to test 1196. The reason that I believe it will is because typically that's the way support and resistance works. Okay, it goes up and it will break through the resistance area, and then it will come back and test it. In this case, it broke through a support area, so it's going to come back and it's going to test it. That's what I'm waiting to see if that happens or not. But let's say that this goes up one tick higher. I know it's not higher yet because the volume is not blue. So if this ticks up one tick higher and I get divergence, well, I would go ahead and exit the binary option because more than likely it's going to retrace. This binary option actually closes at 9 o'clock. So I don't want it to retrace while I'm in this trade. I want it to keep moving up. Okay? Now, over on the USD JPY, you see that the pivot line and the moving average are coinciding together. Now, you can also see, and I'm going to blow it up a little bit, that on this bar, not only did it make a high, but sellers stepped in on that high, okay? So sellers came in and they took control. That typically means that this market's going to come down. Where would I anticipate it going? If it breaks through this ATR here in this moving average, it's I believe a 50, a 100, and a 200, okay? If it breaks through this area, it's likely to go down to this green line. Any questions on that? And on this one, you actually have what's called trend divergence, okay? As this price was going up, the stochastics was coming down. You also have a magenta peak down here. That tells me, okay, it's at least going to go back to the ATR. Minimum. Now, we do have an 8:30 market report. That could skew all of my trades, okay? It's, I believe, the building... let me look it up real quick. Building reports or something to that effect. Building permits, that's what it is. It comes out at 8:30. We also have housing starts. Housing starts, not a lot of volatility. Building permits, you'll see some volatility. I'm not worried about that because I'm trading the binaries, okay? I've already limited my risk. Okay, I can't get any cheaper than what I got a Nadex binary for. Okay, so if this moves in my direction and if it closes above that ATR, then I have made my money. I'm good. If it goes against me, I've only lost less than $30 a contract. Does everybody understand that? Now, do you see how you've potentially got divergence right here? You have lower buying volume. I'm waiting because that bar has another 5 minutes. A lot could change in 5 minutes. Don't jump the gun here. We'll go over and look at what the futures is doing. Okay, on gold, you're coming back to an ATR. This would actually be a potential entry point, except just off the bat, I see that the 45-minute is at this congestion dot. And if I extend this out, do you see how buyers are coming in right now? That wouldn't be a good trade to take right now. Okay, because buyers are coming in. I just explained to you that when we have the ATR with the congestion dots, we're expecting this to come back and test this ATR. Again, it's support in resistance. If it breaks through this ATR, then it's logically going to come back and test this ATR. That's what I want to see happen. So in this case, I'm not taking this trade over here. What will probably happen over here is you're going to break the ATR, especially with this buying volume. It's going to form a congestion dot up here. Now, I would take it if the congestion dot coincided with this ATR. Right now, not the time to do it. Now this is, I didn't explain this because I don't have it going on the Forex side. This is the RSI multimeter, and what it's doing is measuring the crude, the yen, the gold, the NASDAQ, the ES, and the Dow, and it's showing you what the RSI value is on a 12-minute. So you can see the Dow is moving down, the ES is moving down, the NASDAQ is moving up, gold is going up, the yen is going up, and crude, of course, is going down. I mean, that's been the story of the year with crude. Now, you may get a retracement over here on gold. It's not going to be enough for me to want to trade. And the reason is just because the stochastics is getting to the 80 mark. I wouldn't touch that market right now. Let's go back and see what this one is doing. This is just telling me it's going to retrace back to this ATR. I'm really not going to focus on futures until 9:30 at the market opening for futures. Forex generally will move better up until 9:30, and 9:30 you can go over to the futures. Now, the Nadex binary options do offer the 2-hour binaries beginning at 8 o'clock. I typically tend to trade the a 1-hour time period. And to do that, you just wait till 9 o'clock, or you wait until the binary has 1 hour until expiration. I want to snap a line on this one too. So in this case, and I'm going to change this color so I'll know it's not a pivot line. I need this to be above 1188 by 9 a.m. And this is one the market report may actually have an effect on. Now this is one, and let me see if I can bring my screen back over here, that if you wanted to exit this one right now, you very well could. Okay, you would have a minimal loss of 55. If I gotten it over here sooner, you would have seen it was 15. But I'm going to wait. I want to see what the market report does. I do prefer the euro and the yen. The reason that I prefer them is because the strike width on the USD/JPY and the strike width on the euro US dollar is only 4 pips. Okay, so even though I'm out 2 whole strike prices, it's only 8 pips. I mean, that's a hiccup for these two markets. Okay. Let's go see what the Dow is doing. We just made a magenta peak on the Dow. You can see that's it's listed right here in the radar screen. It says MPK6. That means that this should retrace back to the ATR. Okay, so we're at 18,108. It should come down to 18,069. If, I could get this on a 20-minute or a 1-hour basis, sometimes I'll trade that. We haven't had a lot of volatility in the market, so I haven't been trading a lot of those. We have had a really slow market. If most of you remember, I actually typically trade a 3-minute. You can't trade a 3-minute in these markets. I can count on one hand the number of times I've even looked at a 3-minute since the beginning of August, just because we're not having the typical market movement. You can also see that if I enlarge this 1440. Now, this is the average true range indicator. It's actually the bar range indicator, but it uses average true range. And you can see normally when we have a good market like we did in January, look at how many days we're above that average true range. And then in March, look at how many days we have been below. Okay, that's not good trading. That's a very, very slow market. Last week we did a little bit better. I think everybody's waiting on the Fed announcement tomorrow. Again, I want this euro to come above 1188. It only has to be one tick above 1188 for me to make money on the binaries. What I would like to see over here on the USD JPY, I would like to see more sellers come in. You can see right now the buyers are trying to come in on that bar, not confirmed by the price bar itself. If buyers were truly in control of this bar, then it would be closing up at the top. Right now it's still a down bar, so I'm not paying a lot of attention to that. I'd like to see on the euro, I would love to see buyers take control of this bar, especially right before the market report. That would be nice. I'm going to expand these two out. These two are my favorite to trade using the binary options. We do have about 8 minutes before the market report today. Let's go see what the NASDAQ is doing. Looks like we're going to reach up to 2144 on the ES. $18,153 on the Dow. We've had both trend divergence and volume divergence. I would think this would push crude up. It may come back and make a slightly lower low here. I'm not seeing a lot of volume divergence. If you squint real closely, you can see it, but that's about it. The one thing that I don't like on the crude binary options, guys, it's 20 cents between the different strikes. So that means either you can't go out a lot or you need a market that is moving, because I like using the out of the money binaries. Without a market that's moving, you'll have issues. We have about 4 minutes until the market report now. And the building permits is not one that's going to move the market a lot. Wait a minute, and I can probably tell you how much it's going to move it. Am I still plotting the CD lines? No, because I've got all of them usually within my vision, Keith. And as long as I can see them, I know where it's at. It's pretty much like we just did on gold. We know that it's there on gold. For new traders, you know, if you're not paying attention to them, then yeah, I would expect you to do it. Let's go back and let's look at crude. I mean gold. Oh, I'm doing good. Do you see how sellers just came in and controlled that bar? This is where it's likely to bounce down off of this ATR. Can it break through the pivot line? I don't know. And again, this is not one I wouldn't start trading this until at least 9 o'clock because I like 1 hour. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. I mean, I know this one over here, for example, on the 720, okay? Do you see how it's at 1320? I can visually see that, and if price is at 1320, then I might want to pay attention. Do you understand that, Keith? Okay, the building permits came in at 1.14 million. They expected 117. The housing starts came in at 1.14. They expected 1.19. Okay, so let's go back. Mainly concerned with this one. It has 30 minutes to get above the green line. And now you can see we're not getting a lot of volatility off of this market report. Let's go back and look at gold. There's your white congestion dot. it should actually get back to about 1320. But again, Keith, this comes back to it's testing the congestion dot on the 720. Okay, if you have trouble recognizing that, yeah, you need to plot your congestion lines. Okay. Visually, I know to look for that. It's right here, 1320. It's these congestion dots right here, Larry. Do you see that? What I have found, Keith, is typically your ATR is going to catch it, or your pivot lines are going to catch it, or, you know, your moving averages. I mean, there's going to be something there. Larry, are you on the continuous contract? I am. I tend to use the continuous contract more, Larry, just because I won't have to change my radar screen as much. If there's a question about it, then I will go to the actual contract. But otherwise, I'm going to, you know, if you're changing the contracts over here on radar screen, you know, it's a lot of changes to be made for every time they roll over. Crude and gold roll more than the indices. So I just leave it on the continuous contract, and I have all of my windows linked. So when I click on something like the ES, then of course it changes on all of my windows. Okay. You're getting divergence over here, and it looks like you're going to have divergence on the ES. From the looks of it, that's what's going to happen. Is the radar screen available in Ninja? No, radar screen is, you know, related to TradeStation, but NinjaTrader does have a market analyzer. Does it look like this? No, it does not. I do have the trend for the market analyzer, and it looks very similar to this. And I also have the ADX. Okay. Now, we can change it, Benjamin. I have not upgraded to NinjaTrader 8 because it's still like a release candidate. And so I have not upgraded to that yet. In other words, the market analyzer we do have for NinjaTrader 7, not NinjaTrader 8. And it doesn't, the way the market analyzer works, Benjamin, you have to do a market analyzer like for 12-minute, and then you have to do a market analyzer for 45-minute. You can still change all of the charts that you're looking at by clicking on the market analyzer, we added that functionality, or NinjaTrader did. But, you know, as far as having all of your symbols and all of your time frames in one market analyzer, we can't do that. Does that answer your question, Benjamin? I don't have NinjaTrader running at the moment, but if you go under the indicators, I think I do have packet pictures of it. This one. This is what the market analyzer looks like, Benjamin. So you can see I've got all of the instruments here. This tells me it's a 3-minute. Okay. So you do have a lot of the same functionality. Okay. But it doesn't, I don't want to present it as looking exactly like this, because it doesn't. If this pattern holds over here on the ES, you're probably going to get an up movement off of that. This needs to come down a little bit more, though. That gives you a hidden divergence. Let's see if crude's going to go up. Let's go back and look at these. Go see. I'm trying to work off of 2 screens, so y'all gonna have to give me a moment. We could do this one. Go down here. Okay, this is one on the USDJPY. And do you see how the buyers are coming in right now? And this is where you could go in at the money, which is 43.50, but this has an hour and 16 minutes left. You could also do the $32 one. And I'm waiting to see if this actually holds or not. See, now we can get the 101.89 for 40. We could go out here to 101.93. Now this is going to include the market opening at 9:30, which is very volatile. So I'm going to do that one at 29.25. We'll do that one. Get it even cheaper. Because the ATR with these two moving averages really indicate it's probably going to come back and test again here. Does everybody understand that? Oh, the red and blue dots, that's something only I have on mine. It's the one I did for binaries, Keith. I'm the only one that actually has that one. Sorry. All right. Now, it looks like, and I'm trying to work off of all of these screens here, so give me a minute. To me, it looks like the Dow is going to go up at the open. Okay. That could be wrong. All right. It was going to have to be volatile because it's going to have to move up 27 points. In this case, you're going to be risking $35 basically for 10 a.m. expiration. Actually, we can get it for $33.50. Let's go and look at gold. Keith, do you see how the congestion dots are coinciding with the pivot line? That's what I was talking about earlier. Now, if we don't have volatility at the market opening, then the out-of-the-money binaries will not make money. And we've had that a lot this summer. I mean, just nothing. You wouldn't even know it was a market opening. I'm hoping after the Fed announcement, believe it's tomorrow, I'm hoping that will change. Yeah, tomorrow is the FOMC economic projections, the FOMC statement, the federal fund rates, and the press conference. Now tonight on the USD JPY, we have the yen monetary statement, and they're actually expected to do something. If they do, it's going to cause a lot of volatility tonight. And that's when I'll actually stay up. They usually do it between 11 and midnight. And crude oil inventories is being released tomorrow at 10:30. We may not see a lot of movement off of that because of the Fed announcements. I've noticed that typically on Fed announcement days, we do not have a lot of movement on the crude oil inventories. Last week I actually used a spread. I did one of your moves, Keith. I got a spread for like $10 and traded it using the spread just because it was cheaper to do. In each one of these, where it says price at the ATR, price at a congestion dot, each one of these are actually a trade set up for you to look at and actually analyze. In other words, this one looks like it's going to go up. This looks like it's going to come down. You know, don't take that trade. On the ES, you know, this one is moving up. This is potentially going to move up. Could you take that one? Yes, because you've had volume divergence here. And again, it's, you know, working with this screen, there's only so much I can do here, guys. But you could come in. And again, you want to go, out of the money because you're doing a market opening, and the market opening is prone to do anything. So we're going to expand the strike prices, and I'm not paying $50 for that one. Could it move 2 point? Probably. Now this one expired out of the money. So if you didn't take profits as it came up to this line, then you lost, what, less than $30 a contract. Seems like it was 28, but I know it was under 30. This pinkish line here is from the floor trader pivots, okay? So this is an area, if you see a reversal bar, you could actually take a short if the volume agreed with it. That's the current strike price that we're in on the USDJPY. I'm going to copy this window and paste it. On this one, we're at 2143.1. There we go. And do one on the Dow. On the Dow, we are at 127. Now, the only one that we actually paid a lot for was probably the ES, which was $38. if it gets to this line, you have at least made, if it goes just a little bit above this line, you have at least made what your investment was, which is 100% investment. Return on investment of 100%. Now, there used to be sort of a correlation between gold and the indices or crude and the indices, and that has kind of been blown out of the water this year, so you can't rely on that. You know, used to be if gold's going down, the indices going up. Not so much. And it was at one time if crude was going up, the indices were going up. You can't always depend on that right now. The correlations have really, during the course of this year, been skewed. Even between the indices, you'll see one going up and everything else is crashing. Or everything else is going up, but the stray one is crashing. So for those of you in the room that do not understand divergence, either on the volume or hidden divergence and trend divergence, I just added a whole slew of video training courses that you can order that are really good and teach you, you know, how to use volume divergence, how to use hidden divergence, how to use trend divergence. They're all on there, and they're really some good videos, especially on the divergence, because I even show you the typical mistakes that most traders make. And those are not available on the blog. They're actually available on the main site, which is Traders Help Desk. And I think I have that somewhere. Yeah. So if you go to training, you'll see I have all of the video courses. The trading psychology video is really good. Chris K, who used to own Fulcrum Traders, and I purchased it, actually did these videos, and they're extremely good videos. So, and none of them are really expensive. So, you can't complain about price for sure. Any questions while we're waiting on something to move? Benjamin, yeah, you can, because you get into the Skype room, and, you know, sometimes we're very active in the Skype room, other times we're not. But if you post a question there, then it's an easy way to get in touch with me on the live edge of the market. You know, email, it's kind of hindsight, because by the time I get back with you, it's not happening. But on the live edge, it's really pretty good. Because if you have a question, especially during the U.S. market like today, usually I'm there by 7 o'clock in the morning, and then by 11 I go take a nap because I get up early. But the diamond package one includes includes everything. It includes the 2-day seminar out in Las Vegas. It includes all of the training videos in the annual membership for a year, the Skype room. The only thing it does not include is the binary signals, which is done on a separate site. And I had to do it that way because of my relationship with Nadex. I write for Nadex, so all of that has to be on a separate site. But yes, it does. And that's the one that I recommend, one, because if you're coming in, it's made a comment yesterday to someone that emailed me. If you buy the indicators, okay, separately, then I've got great documentation. It tells you what the indicator does. It tells you all the options that come with the indicator, but how do you use it? That's what the training courses provide. And the only analogy that I can come up with is if you go buy a new car, okay? If you buy the new car, you know, if you don't know how to drive that new car, it's not very useful to you, number one. Number two, the documentation is not going to explain how to drive a car, how to do a U-turn, how to back the car up, okay? That's training, okay? Sashi, it was you. I just didn't want to say who it was. You know, so there's two components. Number one, you're buying a set of indicators, but the packages, the diamond package, the silver package, that is the training that you need to get to where you want to be, okay? It's not just a set of indicators. And I do a lot of support with my traders. They can call me, they can email me, they can come in the Skype room. I am probably the most accessible person you'll ever meet. It is being recorded, Sashi. I'll have one in March in Greensboro. Yeah, I will. It's either January or March. I don't like January because sometimes it snows and people around here don't know how to drive in snow. I do, but they don't. So it's actually kind of comical around here. We did one year and we did have snow. And, you know, some of the clients that came down for it were from New York and Chicago. And they were like, man, it was so comical because we didn't have that much snow. It was less than a half an inch, but the whole area just shut down. And they were all laughing because, you know, the closings was running on the screen and it was probably 5,000 closings because we had half an inch of snow. It was comical. Yeah, that one I typically do at the Hyatt Place in Greensboro. It's a real nice hotel. People are real nice. It's close to shopping centers and restaurants. So, and they have a shuttle that goes to the airport for you. So it's nice. The pivot line is really supporting gold right now. You're also seeing trend divergence on that, on the stochastics. There's your trend divergence. Here's your volume divergence. it means that it's at this white dot here, Sashi. And anytime that we have a congestion area like this, you can actually trade this back to the ATR and then the ATR down. It lets you know you're in a congestion zone. There is a trade I do at the market opening if we have a wide bar. With Nadex being so slow with the webinar, I can't show you that trade. It's a really cool trade though, because when you get a wide bar, does everybody in the room know what a wide bar is? If I could talk this morning, that'd be amazing. An outside day, I'm not sure if that's how I would describe it. It means it's a big bar. It typically will be bigger than any of the other bars. It will be big. It will make you go, wow, what just happened in the market? But that's what a market opening bar does typically. And what I do, well, I'll just copy this one. I look actually at a 10-minute chart. The Dow is the one I love to trade it on. Sometimes it comes in, sometimes it doesn't. But what I do is change this to a 10-minute bar. I thought I did. No, it doesn't want to. Well, it might help if I typed in the right numbers. There we go. Now, you wait for this one for the market open. It has to happen at the market opening. They do not offer 20-minute binaries until 9:40 in the morning, okay? So if you look at it at 9:30, they're not going to be listed, and you're like, oh my God, where's the 20-minute binary? Something's wrong with my platform. No, it's not. What's wrong is you're looking at the wrong time. So on this one, it would be set to a 5-minute. Okay. So this is the area where you want the wide bar. Typically, it's going to be wider than the last 5 bars. Yes, Ash. Typically. And the first set of 20-minute binaries is at 9:40. You would never risk a lot of money on those binaries. You're 20, 30 bucks maximum you would risk. Let me see if I have my wide bar indicator turned on. Yeah. Okay, if you see a big yellow bar over here is built into the trend indicator, then you know you have a wide bar. If you see this screen right here, it's where it's monitoring the Dow, the ES, the NASDAQ, the yen, gold, and crude. See how these are turning up? That's this is your zero line on the RSI. This is pretty much telling me you're getting a zero line reject on the Dow and on the ES. If you notice on the gold chart, you're getting the hash mark above 0. But if you look up at price, do you see how price is still on the low? Do not trade that as a momentum shift. Normally a momentum shift, this will occur, but the close would be up here at the top. That's a shift from buyers to sellers. Right now, even though buyers are coming in, that could just be profit taking because the price bar is saying sellers are still in control of that price bar. Same thing on the ES right now. Do you see how that ended below 0 here? That's where your hash mark is. Look at the price bar. The price bar does not confirm that at all. That's not a momentum shift. See, they're probing that pivot level over here on the Dow. Over on gold. That's what they're doing. They're testing that area to say, hey, is this where we're going to have support? And I don't trade gold a lot on the binaries because it closes at 130. It has to be a really good setup for me to want to trade gold. And they don't have 20-minute binaries on them either. At crude, sure. Let me move all my charts out of the way. I think you're probably going to get down to about $43. And I think when it gets there, it's probably going to retrace. And this is where you don't have enough room in a binary to take that. And that's because there's 20 cents difference between the strikes. And if I pull that out, here's your pivot line. Okay. So this is your first support area. This will be your second support area. Okay. Now they just tested the support 1 and it did provide resistance. So now they're going to come down to the $43 area, Sashi. But when it gets there, watch the volume and watch the stochastics, because as it looks right now, you're going to get trend divergence and it's going to go back up probably to either 43.39 or up to about 43.55. This is a strong downtrend. Don't step in front of a freight train. This is one, Sashi, also, you did have a momentum shift on it. There. Do you, because this is pink, it tells me it made an outside bar. So this made a high, tested the ATR, but sellers stepped in. It is confirmed on the price bar. And that really does make a difference. You want it confirmed on the price bar. So that would have been your entry, but you would have to put your stop above the ATR. And this is where, you know, these columns really help you identify where the trades are, because it would have said here price at ATR, so you would know to immediately go and start analyzing that chart because you've got a potential setup. Okay. And I mean, the binary options have opened up a lot of trading opportunities for me that used to I couldn't take. You know, I couldn't trade a market opening because that kills you on futures and Forex. Because, you know, if they decide to take it the opposite direction, they're going to kill you. Market reports, bring it on. You know, it just doesn't matter anymore. I don't like the slow market days, you know, but I could still trade them with the binaries. I just go in at the money more on a slow day than out of the money. Out of the money, you do need price to be able to move to get to where your strike is. You have understood me correctly, Sashi. That is correct. And you can also move your stop down using, you know, like the high of the previous bar. Normally when I do that, it's with a 3-minute, okay? So once you enter it and it's moved in your direction, then you can simply offset the high of the previous bar. So like in this case, your stop would probably be sitting about 43.22, about here. And if I get a lower high, I'll pull it down again, okay? Now, right now, do I encourage you to use this 3-minute? No. We're not having enough movement. We're not having enough volatility for me to actually want to trade these lower time frames. I've even seen, it's what I call gappy charts. And when you look at the candlestick from the close of the one bar to the open of the next bar, there'll be a gap. That's a gappy chart, okay? And it also tells you it's going to be hard to trade that chart. And just about the entire summer, I have used a 12-minute chart on futures for that reason. Just not a lot of movement. That's the floor traders pivots, Sashi. And that's typically available in any platform. Um, and it's just telling, it's based on the prior day's action. Some of them use the high-low close. Some use the high-low open of the next bar. Some use the open, high-low, and close. You know, but they pretty much all are within the same value of one another. It might be a few ticks off, but that's between platforms. Data is always going to be off. And that actually, on crude, is a classic reversal bar. And the fact that we had that volume divergence was just kind of icing on the cake. Let's see, today, do you see how the ES is starting to go up? The Dow is starting to go up on this chart, but look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ doing its own little thing. And I used to trade the NASDAQ a lot, have not traded it as much lately. Just because it kind of seems to be marching to its own little drum. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break before the market opens, and I'll be right back. Okay? About a 5-minute break. Okay, let's see what's going to happen at the market opening. Now remember, on these top charts, on the ES 10 minute, you want to see a wide bar come in. Boom, there we go. We're looking for a big yellow bar on the 10 minute. If we get the big yellow bar, it's probably going to be up to 20.44.25. This is so far a lousy market opening. Now on this one, if this gets to 66, you've made 100% on that binary. So now you've made 100%. Anything above 66 is greater than 100%. Normally I put profit targets in, but I'm just not doing it because I'm in a demo today. I don't think we're going to get the wide bar on these. And this is where, if you don't get the wide bar, if that wide bar is not in one direction, you can't trade that. I wanted to go look at gold and see what gold was doing. The Nasdaq's finally trying to turn. Let's see, you're right at the ATR on this 180. I knew that because it showed up in my radar screen. I don't take trades when it's at an ATR on a higher time frame unless it actually moves through that ATR. Okay, we're not going to use that one because we're not getting wide bars. So I'll get those out of my way. And this is one on gold. Unless it breaks through this ATR, I will not touch that market. Because just as soon as you go into it, it will bring you out of it. You just had a hidden divergence on the 3-minute. You made a lower high. And look at what the stochastics did. That's usually a strong move to the downside. Again, I'm not endorsing you to trade these little 3-minute charts right now because we're not having the volatility that we used to have. If that came in on the 12-minute, yeah, I would trade that. On a 3-minute, nah. Not interested. The NASDAQ is at the 12-minute ATR as well. This is where it pulled back to the ATR. Do you see how this congestion zone formed on that, Sashi? And that tells me the only time that you can trade when you get both the ATR and the congestion dots is if it's close enough to the ATR. And if you see this, it's white, that tells me I'm close enough. Or if you're at the CD or the congestion dot, then you can trade that. But otherwise, you better stay out of it. If it's in the middle, stay away from it. It is a congestion zone. And even this one on the 45-minute, do you see this, Sashi? It comes up, it closes above this congestion dot, but do you see how that's coming back to test this CD or this moving average? It will test one of the two. It's looking for something that's going to support it. And I am an avid support and resistance trader, avid. So if I'm not seeing a support area or a resistance area, I'm not going in a trade. It's included in the description, Sashi. Let's see if I can find it. I'm not on my main computer. I'm on my laptop. So give me a minute and I can probably find it. I'm going to have to pause the screen a moment so I can look and find what I'm looking for. Okay, Sashi, do you see my screen again now? Okay, so the congestion dot is part of the trend indicator, okay? So, I mean, I go through and explain to you all of the options, what you can and cannot change. As far as, how to trade it, it's not in there. It does tell you this is congestion area. So if you're an experienced trader and you know how to trade congestion areas, then that's fine. But if you need training on it, then that's extra. Okay. On this bar right here, yeah, when it touched this congestion dot, you could have bought for a quick scalp. Okay. And then when it comes up here to the ATR, you're right at an ATR. That's your lowest point of risk. If you want to scalp that back down, which is usually what happens, then yeah, you can do that as well. If, and this is usually what happens, okay? you go up, you hit the ATR, and then you come back down. I mean, it actually makes a wave in price. I mean, that's what we look for as traders. Okay? It just highlights it for you. That's it. Let's go look at the ES. The ES is at an ATR, so is the Dow. You know, this is where, okay, you're at an ATR, but the volume is increasing to the downside. I really wouldn't want to take that. It's probably going to retrace back to this ATR at 2136. That would be my expectation. Now, the entry for that normally is off of the 3-minute, okay? And in this case, you would wait for it to come back to the ATR or to the congestion dot like it did right here. But again, we don't have enough volatility right now to be trading the 3-minute. So I don't show that right now. We do have very specific rules for that. So on the binaries, is it possible to scalp a good $9 to $12 per contract on that example you provided? Yeah, you can. And actually, you would get probably more than $12 if you used an out of the money. If you're doing one that has a small enough strike width one, okay? You know, here's an example on the Dow. We paid, I remember it was $33, okay? We went out to 18,128. Now, I know that made over 100% on that, okay? So in other words, we were risking 33 and we made over 33 on that, okay? So could you do it? Yes, you can. But you have to be quick. And on the 20-minute binaries, you know, they work really well if you're right at ATR. Again, going out of the money, not risking a lot, but at least covering the cost of your entry, okay? And most of my 20 minutes I actually get for about 30 bucks, under 30. Some of them I get for 20 because you're trading a high gamma number there. You know, it doesn't take much to make a lot of money on those. Does that answer your question, one? And here's a great example, okay? The Dow, which is one of my favorites, is a 12-point strike, okay? So let's say that there was a strike, okay, price is at 110, okay? So you're going to go up one strike price, okay? So 110 plus 12 is 22. That's where your strike would be. That's going one strike price out, okay? And if it gets here, then you know that strike is worth $50 because at the money is $50. Typically, it's actually about 53 or 55. So if you went in a $30 binary, if it gets to 123, that's 20 bucks. On the ES, I think it's 2 points. I don't know the ES off the top of my head. Okay, but 21.39. Okay, if it's every 2 points, it's going to be up here at 21.41. So if it gets up here to 21.41, if you were risking $30, that just made 20 bucks. Does that answer your question, one? Okay. They're actually a 1.5. So this one would actually be about here. I do a lot of the 20 minutes when it's at an ATR, especially on a trending day. I'll be trading 20-minute binaries because every time it pulls back to an ATR, and I mean, look at this chart, okay? Is this a trending chart? You know, I think most people would agree, yeah, you're trending up here, okay? You know, one of the entry mechanisms, the reason I wanted to trade the Dow this morning, and the reason that we actually went long on it is because of this divergence here. That's what that should be from here to here. You know, this going one way, this going another way. It's going to go up off of that. Do you see how it got to the white line over here? That's at least a $20 increase. If you got that around 25 to 30, you made at least $20 on that binary right now. Because it just went above the strike price. Now, some days they'll increase those premiums, and you can't do that. And all you do is look at the premium prices. Yeah, I don't risk 80 to make 20. I don't do that. There's a lot of traders that do one, and it works for them. You know, they don't like to take a loss. So they go with the probabilities. I use the indicators to dictate the probability, not the binary. And because I use out of the money binaries, hey, I've only got to be right 50% of the time. Yeah, they still have to take losses. There's not a trader out there that will not take a loss at some point. There was a guy that his motto was, I haven't been stopped out in, no, I've never been stopped out, something to that effect. The one time he did, it was a margin call on about $800,000. Yeah, I don't do that type of trading. Could we look at crude again? Sure. Buyers are coming in really, really strong. You missed this pivot line by 5 cents. Yeah, you had volume divergence right there on that low. You're making lower lows and higher lows in the volume. Let me do it this way. It will be easier. Your volume is decreasing even though you're making lower lows. Do you see that? No, that's not a momentum shift at all. This is your momentum shift right here. Do you see that? You made lower lows, but now buyers came in and the price bar is confirming it. It will at least go to here. At least somewhere around that vicinity, because that's where your ATR is. But that's the momentum shift. As it stands right now, it's being confirmed by the price bar. Do you understand that now, Sashi? Yeah, it's a momentum shift to the upside. They shifted from seller's control on the bar to buyer's control on the bar, and it's confirmed by the price bar. Not on the 12-minute, because this is not a red bar. But remember, earlier today, I told you it's probably going to go down to around $43 and then go up from there. Why? Because it had an area that was going to support price. Now, I did miss it by 5 cents. You want to see a buy-in shift on lows. That means that you need a bar that represents a low, in the magenta bars too. The magenta in red represents lows, okay? The magenta in blue represents high. So to have the momentum shift, you need, in this case, you need to make a low, and then the hash mark has to show you that buyers step in, and the price bar has to be confirming it. Let me blow this one up a little bit. And it's sort of, I encourage you to talk yourself through it, because in this example right here, price has made a high, the bar has closed on the low, the volume told you, hey, look, sellers came in on that bar. Now, compare that to your 45-minute bar, okay? Price bar has made a low, and buyers started stepping in, okay? No problem, Sashi. So this is one that identified, hey, sellers stepped in on that high. This one is telling you, hey, buyers are stepping in on the low. Yeah, you went offline and then you were back online, so I wasn't sure whether you were hearing me or not. Yeah, just send me an email, Sashi. On the dailies, let me look at it. It's all going to be dependent on today's action, to be honest with you, because you do not have a lot of sellers in that bar right now. You know, they have taken out this low, but they're not increasing in sellers, so it would be something to watch, Sashi. I'm just not seeing it right now. In fact, I'm just seeing that they're getting weaker as it's progressing. They're just getting weaker. You know, to make new lows, they need to come in stronger. Let's go see what the Dow's doing. Let me shrink it up so I can see what's going on. What I would like to see actually on the Dow, because I think we're going to get some downward movement, is I would like to see it actually tag the 18153. I would like to see price go up to there, and if it does, then I would anticipate it to pull back some. Now, does anybody have any questions this morning? Because I only scheduled this for 2 hours, and it is now 10 o'clock. Any questions? I will have another webinar next week, same time, 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. That way you can actually see the indicators. You know, if you have a market you want me to look at, I can bring it up and you can see it with the indicators. Yes, it was recorded, Henry. And I'll put it up on the website later today. It has to render the recording and all that great stuff. We did it, I know the binary on the Dow and the ES, which are the only two I was really looking at, they did go over the 100%. You could have taken profits on them. I'm just not setting profit targets in the room. All right, everybody have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week.